Hello and welcome to Netflix versus Cinema. Greetings from a scorching UK. I think it's fair to say that it's scorching pretty much everywhere around this country. It's gone from dry, it has gone from wet, cold to just sort of hang on a second. Shaun has brought the weather back from him from Thailand. My name is Tosin and I am the host. I'm the host and I'm based up in Bromsgrove. Joining me as always on the Isle of Wight is the aforementioned Shaun Harris.
Hello.
Yeah, fresh back from Thailand. And Sharon Bolland.
Hello.
And from London, a London correspondent who is going to probably be living up even more to that title. It's Holly Nesling.
Hi.
Yes, so a couple of let me explain what happens on this show before I go further and start chatting to my co-host. What we do in this show is we go to the cinema each week. We see a couple of things in the cinema, or in case of Shaun, everything. In the case of Shaun, everything there is to see in the cinema. We rate them out of 5. We stay at home. We watch a couple of things, rate them out of 5. We put them up against each other, and we see where money has been better spent this week. So, speaking of which, Shaun, yeah, as we said, you
Yes.
brought the weather back from Thailand with you, and
I did.
and you went straight to the cinema. So this week you have seen a plethora.
I've seen the plethora, yeah, and last week. Don't forget, I didn't pop
Yes,
on
and last week
so
because you weren't around with us because you were watching the football.
that's right, yeah.
So let's have a list of what you've seen at the cinema, and then we will see what we will get with. Ooh.
So when I was in Bournemouth, I saw Arcadian, which is
Yep.
which was just sheer by chance. I just happened to have a look to see what was on, and that came out of nowhere. So
Yep.
Nick Cage film. So I saw Arcadian. I've seen Bad Boys for Life, which we're going to talk about hopefully. I've seen the Bikeriders.
Yep.
I've seen Horizon, which I saw with Sharon, and last night I went to see Something in the Water.
Something in the water. I mean, Holly, I hope you're feeling okay that Shaun managed to get to this before you did.
I can save it. We can save it until you've seen it if you really want.
I don't know when.
No, I'm happy. I'm happy to save that because I think after a terrific time, I'm thinking, yay! That suddenly, it might affect the ratings. So, so we could save it. We could save it if you wish.
I would say, I mean, Something in the Water. Because quite frankly, we try and do 3 films each week, and I think at the moment we are pushing it for our time limit. So I think maybe Something in the Water we will move to next week. All right, cool. And Sharon, what have you seen this week?
I have seen Horizon, a preview screening at the cinema. I haven't seen anything new at home.
Okay, cool. And I have, sorry, Holly, you said that you've seen Bad Boys for Life, did you?
I have Bad Boys for Life.
It's not. It's actually. Is it
Ride or Die?
Ride or Die. That's
Ride
it.
or Die. Yeah, I was going to
yeah.
say that. I saw it. I know just for life because I think it was For Life, and I think it's Bad Boys 4, and I was thinking 4, so I just put that.
I mean, Will Smith did joke when they announced that they were making a 4th Bad Boys movie. He was like, "Oh, rubbish! We already wasted Bad Boys for Life."
yeah.
And so people were like, maybe we should just do a Zack Snyder, go back in and change the name of the movie. So that one was called Bad Boys 3 Loaded or whatever. And this one is now called Bad Boys for Life. It's a Bad Boys Ride or Die. Okay, cool.
I have seen that. And at home, I finally watched The First Omen, which came out earlier this year, that we may have previously reviewed it, I forget.
No, we did not.
And I have also seen at home Dear Child on Netflix.
Dear Child. And I at home have seen Hitman. And I mean, we were talking about the 80s before we hit record. And Shaun, you were talking about the fact that Maxine is coming on, and you think that a Secret Cineworld screening in a couple of weeks, or next week actually.
Next week, yes.
Yeah, next week. You think it could be Maxine, and
well, that's the only one I can think. I did think it might have been A Quiet Place, but that's actually released this week. So
yeah. But I was just thinking about on the 80s thing. I've been watching an 80s set Apple TV Plus show called Physical with Rose Byrne. So, well, I doubt we will get around to it. That's probably going to be one of the bad burner. But I've seen Hitman on Netflix, which is doing great guns and getting loads of people talking. And it's one of those rare things where it's like, a Netflix water cooler film. Because they do with TV series, but as if you've listened to us, if you go way back in the annals with us, you can see like Shaun has his thing about Netflix movies and about how Netflix movies are never good. And this is one of the ones that seems to be, well, a lot of people seem to be bucking the trend with that. Well, wait until you hear what I think about it. So let us kick off with, where shall we go? Let's kick off with Horizon. Let's kick up, let's kick up with Horizon. Shaun and Sharon, you've both seen this. So, Sharon, do you want to take it away? Tell us what Horizon's about.
Okay, Horizon is a settlement. It starts off with a group of surveyors who are just plotting out the land. They're just surveying the land, working out where the houses are going to be. And what they have done is the people who have bought this piece of land or who have prospected this piece of land have sent out these
because
posters.
this is a Western.
This is a Western set before the American Civil War. So it starts off in like the 1850s, I believe, but it comes up on the screen. And it's in Indian territory, this piece of land. And the people who have prospected this bit of land, they have published this poster, and it says on there, you know, amazing opportunities for the pioneer spirit, or words to that effect. You know, come here, there's 100,000 acres ready to be claimed. It's rich land, ready to be civilized. And so these posters have been released. They're out. And as we start off, we see basically how all the threads of the film are being drawn towards this settlement. And so you see 3 different strands of story, and you know that they're all going to end up being drawn to this one place, but you see them starting off in different areas. And the first strand is you see the settlement being surveyed, and then they are attacked by a band of indigenous people we later identify as Apache, who it's their territorial lands. And the younger people in the tribe have said, no, this is our land. And what we're going to do is each time these white men come, we're going to kill them. And then if we kill enough of them, they're going to stop coming because they're going to know it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And some of the older heads in the tribe are saying, you know, that doesn't work. They're just going to keep coming. And we either have to, you know, we have to accept that, you know, our way of life is changing, and this tide is, you know, can't be turned. And the younger ones are saying, you're just old and stupid, you don't know anything. And so we have this one strand is this sort of indigenous peoples, and it's their story of, okay, this was our land.
Yeah.
And then we sort of jump forward in time, sort of 10 years after that first sort of massacre of the people there. Another settlement has risen up on that piece of land, drawn there by this poster that's now been in circulation for 10 years. And it's quite an established settlement. There's families, they've got buildings, they've got a community there, and they are attacked one evening by a group of indigenous peoples, and horrific things happen. And a mother and a daughter escape this massacre, and the cavalry arrive, and they come and they're taken to the nearby fort, and then their story is tied in with those of like the cavalry and the army, who have, because it's a civil war, the army are not there in numbers. They've just got these small outposts trying to sort of keep the peace as much as they can.
Yeah.
And then another strand, you see Kevin Costner's character, where he is sort of a trader. He's selling horses, he's going to, and he encounters this woman who is being pursued by this sort of family, this notorious family.
Yeah.
And he has sort of basically taken on board this young child who is taken to safety with this young woman who sometimes prostitute, sometimes just sort of does what she can to survive. And so these 3 strands are all been drawn towards Horizon. So it is a Western on the sort of the epic scale.
Yes.
It crosses the country, it crosses time. We already saw 10 years pass. You get to see these particular characters and you follow their journey, and you know there's much more to come. And so in this sort of 3-hour film, you know this is not going to be telling the story in a hurry. This is going to take its time.
Yeah. And so one of the big headline things about Horizon is, by the way, very, 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 I have to say, excellent summary of what I think might be big and unwieldy. And sometimes I actually wonder maybe the storyline might be more suited to a TV series, but I do know that the big thing about this is that it's Horizon. It's a Kevin Costner passion project. He has paid for this himself from his own money to get these films made. And so he's actually and he has a plan for 4 films. We know he said that up front. He's filmed 2 of them. He's going to see how they do, and then if they do well, he'll get to make the next 2. So already you know that this one is kind of like Horizon Part 1, so to say.
Yeah, I think it's Horizon Part 2 is out end of the month, or maybe even
It's
end
quite
of next
close.
month.
Yeah, it's quite
Oh,
close.
that's a nice change.
Yes.
That's a nice. So it's essentially Kevin Costner, even though he's big and obviously has quite a lot of money, because he can plow a lot into these films and everything like that. It's still technically an independent film, where it's kind of if these films don't work, he's going to feel it. he's going to, and that's a big part of it. Like Horizon, and he wanted it on as biggest canvas as possible, because he's a massive fan of the West and all that kind of stuff. And he wanted to make those sort of epic sort of John Ford type things. So, Shaun, reaction. What did you think?
Okay, yeah, dude, I love it when Sharon's on, because I love it when we see a film together, because she can say much. Anyway, so for this, yes, I thought it was absolutely marvelous, fantastic, beautifully framed. And what I really liked, and there was about equidistance in the film, and I was thinking about it, is the first Indian raid on the actual town itself, not the one Sharon was talking about, but that you could understand why there was a hatred of the indigenous people. You can understand why there was a hatred. And exactly like Sharon said, the chief saying, you can't do this because we're all going to get lumped together. We're all going to be the same. And then, so after that thing, you're thinking, yeah, they're not so good, the Native Americans, First Nation, whatever. And then towards the end of the film, there is some white people do exactly the same sort of thing, more or less, to some people. So you're thinking, oh, horrible. So there you've got, in this Western, you have got some terrific characters. You've got some real nasties there. You've got some good ones. It covers so many spheres, and the shootouts are great, because in those days, you know, I mean, there was a lot of lead flying, and not, it was a bit like the A-Team. There's a lot of lead flying, and only maybe 1 or 2 would find their mark, and they wouldn't be like shot and pirouette like they are in the spaghettis. So I was really, really impressed with.
Yeah, and I did notice that, because sometimes they get shot and they go down.
Yeah.
And in the old Westerns, it's like they go, ah, and they're at the fight.
That's
They
it.
just go that. Doesn't matter where they're shot, they just get like, how, you're at the fight,
this is
move
like
on.
And I liked it that
you can get shot a few times, but then you can still be in the fight. You're still.
And I liked it that it took the gun out, and not out the hospital. It wasn't like a fast draw. It was like, you know, the gun. It reminded me a bit of Open Range. I don't know if you ever seen Open Range.
I was about to say that, because I was about to say Kevin Costner knows his way around a Western, and especially a Western shootouts, because he wrote and he directed and starred in Open Range, which has one of the most celebrated gunfight shootout scenes in history.
Yes. So for me, I thought for me it was just what I wanted. I mean, I know I'm a big fan of Westerns and I love Westerns, but
but it means that you're also quite harsh when people don't do it right.
Yes. I mean, I should definitely watch this again. This is definitely, I'm gonna watch this again, because I want to make sure that I took everything in.
Okay, cool.
And
and Sharon, what did you think?
No, again, I thought beautifully shot. You can tell this is a man who loves his Westerns.
Yeah.
There's the landscape is its own character, and it isn't one landscape. There's the plains, there's like the mountain regions, there's like Wyoming. It covers that American West, which is thousands of miles long. It isn't just like, the seaside. No, it's like, you know what you're going to get. The West covers so many different things, and the fact that he's drawing together all these stories under this sort of banner, great. It reminded me a little bit of, there's a book called Centennial that they made into a series. Again, it was about the growth of this town and all the things around it. That's very sprawling. That lasts about 200 years, but and it reminded me of some of the John Ford Westerns, the way the landscape is framed. But no, I liked it. I liked the characters. There's enough. There's no like good guys and bad guys. It's like the shades of grey, where they're nuanced. That good people can do bad things and bad people can do good things, and they're more human. I did rate it, and it's a long film, 2-3 hours long. And to be honest with you, I didn't really notice the passing of time until the very end. I was sat there, and it was only when I started to feel a little bit uncomfortable, thinking, hang on a minute, I've been sat in this chair for 3.5 hours. But it's literally just the last sort of half an hour that I was thinking, you know what, I'm beginning to feel a little bit, I need to move.
Okay, so
that wasn't because of the film, that's just because of the physical sitting in the same place for 3 hours.
So could I just check something? Because obviously this is it's been well publicized. Part of its publicity push is that this isn't a complete story. There's more stories to tell. And yeah, so that I can imagine would put off some people because they'll be like, why should I go to the cinema and pay all that money to just see the first part of a story? Do you feel a bit shortchanged? Like, oh my God, what tell me the rest of the story now, or that kind of thing.
No, not for me personally, not at all. I think I'm quite excited about it. It's given me time to think, so I can watch the film again. I can digest a bit more, and then from the trailer, I think there's a few extra stuff in the trailer that wasn't actually in the film. So
yeah, it could probably be a longer film.
Yeah,
The director's cut could be a lot longer.
That stuff might be in the second film.
Yeah, but yeah, and at the end, the last sort of 10 minutes, I suppose, was you were looking forward. You were not there. You were seeing scenes that of what's to come. So the characters, you can see, like, there's a child in the first film. You see her growing up in the next one, so you know that this is going to be a story that's going to be generational.
Actually,
I thought it was. I thought it looks. Yeah, I was really engaged the whole time, even though
I really liked what that
carry on.
We were talking about that lady, the lady in it that sometimes was prostitute and sometimes not. I really liked what she did. To me, that was the sort of thing that would happen. What she did with the child stuff. That's the sort of thing what did happen. And at the beginning with the when they were under the thing. So yeah.
Okay. So we have to move. We have to move on.
We do.
But I think I can almost guess. But how many stars would you guys give to give it its full title? Horizon: An American Saga, Chapter 1.
Right.
How many stars would you give it?
This totally ticked every single box that I love about a movie. I totally adored this movie. I can't wait for the next one. So this is a 5 for me.
It's a 5.
Big 5, yeah.
Big. I would be as glowing, but I would give it a 4, and that is just because it is not the complete story. It is the first part, so I would say what I saw, really enjoyed, really engaged with. Definitely will watch the next part, but because it wasn't the complete story, I'd give it a 4. But that was it was through the gates of a 4 without any shadow of doubt, heading towards a 5. I think maybe the complete saga, if it fulfills its promise, we could be looking at a 5-star saga here. But at the moment, it's a 4-star individual film for me.
All right, cool. I mean, Shaun, Kevin Costner would love it if everybody was like you.
It's because I think it's been panned, isn't it? The critics panned it.
Oh, I actually haven't heard much.
I think so, but the film lovers, because I actually looked, because I was like, so I want to see everything, and apparently it's been slammed by the critics, but I looked at all the comments on IMDb and all going, critics don't know what they're talking about, forget what I was just like, they don't know what they're talking about. I don't know why they even exist.
Well, to be honest with you, I reckon that in America, I think this is going to be a big hit. I think it's going to be a big hit, especially with the current atmosphere or the current political thing, run up to an election and everything like that. I reckon that this is going to be a big hit with a lot of anyway. I won't go into why I think that is, but I think it will be. Although the funny thing is, Shaun, you put a picture of Kevin Costner in the background. As we're recording this on Zoom, you put a picture of Kevin Costner in the background, and I'm looking at this, and I'm actually going, hang on a second. Which Kevin Costner Western is that? Is that Wyatt Earp, or is that Open Range, or is that?
That looks a bit open rangey.
Is that Open Range? Is that Horizon?
Yeah.
I reckon you could have quite an interesting picture quiz where you just put like stills of Kevin Costner in Western movies, and you try and figure out which movie it is, because he doesn't change much in any of them.
No, he doesn't. He wears the same sort of stuff.
Wears the same sort of stuff. Has the same kind of facial hair, everything like that. It's same old. But we will see, because as you, anybody who's listened to this before will know that, will understand that when I saw the first trailer for Horizon, it really set my colonial alarm off.
Yeah, I can understand.
It set my colonial alarm off massively. And so I'm kind of like, especially because the trailer, for everybody that I focused on was, shall we say, of European descent. And I was like kind of going, but anyway, it's.
We know from the next film there's going to be more. There's a Chinese family that come into it.
There's Chinese, and there is a couple of black people in it as well, because he actually hands the flyer to Kevin Costner and says look at this. So, and I think that's in the trailer.
Yeah, but
So they are that. Yeah. So they've got, and also, I mean, they've got like other Native Americans, indigenous people,
indigenous,
First Nations
actors,
that hunt in the other,
yeah.
Indians.
And then put it this way, I was happy when you said that they focused on them at least, because a lot of if you want to go for a traditional Western, they're seen pretty much like zombies. They're essentially like this massive horde that are coming after us, and we need to survive this horde. And it's about how we're going to survive this horde and get to the end of the movie. And anyway, I said I wasn't going to get political. Let's move on. So, and now we're going to go to the First Omen. We're going to talk about what we see at home. The First Omen. Holly, take it away. Tell us about the First Omen.
So the First Omen is, unsurprisingly, a prequel to the Omen films. It is set in 1971, which, if I remember rightly, is the year that the Omen itself is released. Or was it released in 73? Either way.
Gregory Peck one.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's check. You keep talking, I'll check.
So it is set in the year the Omen begins. And there is a young American girl who has moved over to Italy. She is a novice within the Catholic Church and is looking to take her vows, and is met at the station by Bill Nye, who is a cardinal. There is a bit of a sort of prequel or opening sequence that's the obligatory such thing that precedes this, and off she heads towards this orphanage where she's going to be living, as they head through Italy, and it's rather sort of turbulent times, the early 70s, where there are big student protests and things. She settles into the orphanage very well, where everybody's lovely and very friendly. And all of the children there are lovely. The nuns are lovely. She has a roommate whom she makes friends with, who's also a novice and is about to take her vows. They go out for a bit of a night on the town, as she sort of, as a sort of last hurrah. So she has her first ever night in a bar, in a club, and all sort of ticks along, and she becomes close to a young girl in the orphanage who seems quite troubled, who is a nice girl, but clearly there has been
you know when you said trouble, you said, oh, close to a girl in the orphanage who go, and I was like, well, looking at the topic of the movie, I was going to say possessed. She seems quite possessed.
Troubled. And our novice becomes very very attached to her, but starts to and is worried for her.
Yeah.
And she is approached by a priest who may or may not be familiar to those who have seen more of the franchise, who says, I am I think this girl is part of something. And they start, she is drawn into trying to understand what's going on, what leads to the first Omen film.
Yes. So I mean, this might just be me with my sort of like, horror aversion coming in, but going yes, and then horror-y type stuff happens. Horror-y type stuff happens. It's called the First Omen. We know what's going to happen. Set up, blah blah blah. Horror stuff happens. Now the question is the horror type stuff any good?
It is. I have to say, I was expecting it to be a lot of old rubbish, and as reminiscent of Immaculate.
Apparently there's a lot of similarities with Immaculate.
There are. Whilst also not being the same, but there are certainly, a fair few correlations for two films that come out in the same year, within the same month, I think.
They came out in the same month, yeah.
And it's it's well structured. It doesn't focus on jump scares. which is nice and frankly a bit novel these days. Well put together, a good prequel to it. It's did I, you know, I spotted some of the twists and turns. I didn't spot all of them. Yeah, I liked it. It was I would recommend, would watch again. Is not going to change the world, but it has made me think I want to go back and watch the Gregory Peck Omen again, which I haven't seen in forever and a half.
Yes.
And was a very well put together film, and it has it feels like it has the right sort of flow between the two.
Yeah, cool. Well, so the right mixture of homage and like and being its own thing.
Yeah.
All right. So
Standalone film. But when you know what's coming, it is I think it adds an extra something. So it, as these sorts of films go, I think is a good one.
cool. So you have to we obviously have to quantify how much you like it.
I'm going to give it a high 3. It's not going to change the world, but it's a very watchable film that I would recommend.
Okay,
not quite a 4.
A high 3 for The First Omen. It seems to be a good week or a good couple of weeks for you with watching possessor type things involving priests.
Yes.
Oh dear. You don't get scared by him then, Holly, do you?
I did slightly hide for a couple of seconds in the exorcism.
Yeah, the Russell, which I have been hearing good things about. Like essentially, a lot of people agree with you, Holly, on what's it called? The Exorcism. That it's actually sort of above the rubbish it could have been.
Yes, I mean it is still rubbish, but it's
good rubbish.
It achieved more
than been a lot worse.
Mark Commode, who of course, as we know, was in the screening with me.
Your good personal friend, Mark Commode, yes.
Was not a fan, I believe, has been truly damning of it.
Yeah.
And I think said something along the lines of suspecting that Russell Crowe had hoped it would never see the light of day because his acting's so poor.
Perhaps he's a bit precious about the original, so maybe that might have some sort of something to do with it. Because if you're precious about something, sometimes you can sort of.
I mean, it's
well, yeah, that I agree with you. That is 100% the reason why I have never seen Blues Brothers 2000.
Yeah,
I have it on DVD, never watched it.
It's your film.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, and it's okay. So okay, yeah, that's 3 stars for The First Omen. Now we go back to cinema and we're going to talk about The Bikeriders. Now, Shaun, you have seen this, and this is another film that I feel might have been programmed for you. It might have been programmed for you. They went, right, let's see, we're going to put this in this time period. We're going to make it about this thing. We're going to have and even the stills of this film look like it's homaging some films that I think you might like. So I've
had a terrific time at the cinema these past few days. A terrific time at the cinema. So I'm glad we're saving something in the water till next week. Yeah,
Holly, you need to go see something in the water.
You do. So we can do it. Okay. So basically, this is a story. It sort of spans from the mid 60s to the early 70s, and it's a period. So you got it's quite funny. It's about a motorcycle club. So Johnny, who's the Tom Hardy character, he's watching TV with his family, and he sees, of course, the Marlon Brando film. You know, what you're rebelling against. It's called The Wild One.
What have you got?
The Wild One.
What have you got? Yeah. So, and he thinks, right, I'm going to form a club. So he forms the Chicago chapter, and it's just like a motorcycle club. So they go away for a weekend. They have parties. They've got girlfriends. They're family people, and there's other. Oh, Sharon, yeah, you'll love it. Norman Reedus turns up.
Yes, I'm going to see this film. I am going to see this film.
I think somebody said, when someone who whispered, "We're making a film that has a motorcycle in it," and Norman Reedus just went, "Where?" I just showed up on set. Yeah. I don't even think he was cast. I think he just showed up on set because there was a motorcycle in
it. So basically, the story is sort of told a story by Jodie Comer, who plays Kathy, and she sort of a friend takes her along to one of these motorcycles, bars, clubs sort of thing, and she sees Johnny, and he's like totally, gets smitten. Within 5 weeks, they're married, and she's being interviewed by a member of the gang. So it sort of follows the story all along, goes tells you all about all the different characters.
Yep.
Tells you. So it's like the whole story. She's telling the whole story of a relationship, and then gradually, as time goes on, so from this motorcycle club, you get more and more people, more and more chapters wanting to come in, and of course, as you're getting up towards the 70s, you're getting a lot of, should we say, not so nice characters. So what started off as a motorcycle club, really, and then as new people turn in, it goes, oh, we don't like these new guys much. You know what I mean? It's going, and then one wants to leave, and there's this big party, and something happens. So basically, this is what I can imagine would be how, because the Hell's Angels got a really bad rep, haven't they? From like the the Angels from Hell, Wild Angels, all those. But you can see, and it sort of goes that way. So I wouldn't say it's like history, but I just.
Well, the thing is, it's based on a book by, so that, the character there's a character in the film that is interviewing Jodie Comer's character, Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy, yeah.
Kathy was a real person.
Yeah, right.
Kathy was a real person, and it's based on the book that guy was a photojournalist, and he wrote a book called The Bikeriders.
Right.
And so the film is based on his actual account of the beginning days of this real life motorcycle club.
Well, in the closing credits, there's loads of what obviously are real. So in the closing credits, you get you get the photos actually of. But yeah, so for me, I mean, it's not a violent film. It's not like it's just sort of people would imagine, where it was like there's big fights and Hell's Angels, and I mean, there's a couple of scenes like that. But that's basically the story. She's telling the story of what happens, and something nasty happens towards the end, and. So you see, I think the characters, when they play through this, the two characters there, Tom Hardy, he plays like Marlon Brando, thinks himself as Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
And Benny, who's played by Austin
Butler, yeah.
He's basically James Dean. So you've basically got, Marlon Brando and James Dean. So that's sort of
the Wild One meets Rebel Without a Cause.
Pardon?
The Wild One meets Rebel Without a Cause.
Makes Rebel Without a Cause, yeah. So not that it's like that, but that's just what.
But the two
characters. That's kind of like. I've heard those comparisons like throughout the way when they talk about this film. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Tom Hardy does what?
Yeah, Tom Hardy. He does. I think he wants to be Marlon Brando. Because whenever he's talking, he's like, yeah, sort of really suits him. You know what I mean? And some of the shots, well, the cars. Oh, I love the cars. The bikes are great as well, but I mean, for me, it's the big cars. I love, there's like in the streets of the thing. So
like 60s, 70s Americana. It's like
Americana stuff, which
Shaun's happy as a pig in the proverbial.
He is. He really is. He loves all that sort of stuff. So but yeah, I mean, some of the shots are straight out of, I would say, like you were saying, Rebel Without a Cause, when that sort of. There's a sort of bit way things, and then they look up, like, you know what I mean. So, and I do think there is, I wouldn't say it's a homage to those type of movies, but you can see that influence on it. It's when they're shot in a certain way.
Of Easy Rider thrown in, maybe.
Not really. It's not
really like Easy Rider. Also, it's not as hippie as.
But I'm going to say
Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus. He does something a bit later on, should we say, to do with Easy Rider, but I'm not going to spoil it for you.
I know it was like Norman Reader. Norman Reedus.
Yeah, sorry, Norman Reedus. Quite like him, but he is super hairy in this. He's like massive. You have to sort of take a second look. But he comes out with the bike. He comes out from Chicago. From Los Angeles. So he's like a Los Angeles. And he turns up and he's like, "Oh, what are you coming for?" He goes, "I've come here for him because he didn't." And it's like. No. Anyway, but Sharon, I think you would like this film. I'll go see it again. So if you want to go and see it,
I do want to see it. Yeah,
I'd like to see this. I really would like to see this again. So
how many stars? How many stars do you give the Bikeriders?
4.
4 stars for the Bikeriders.
Yeah.
I have to say that when you talk about the casting of Tom Brady,
Tom
Brady.
Brady.
Tom Hardy, for goodness sake.
We're getting all mixed up, aren't we?
What is up with the names today?
Yeah.
So when you talk about the casting of Tom Hardy as like, maybe like a sort of like aging Marlon Brando character, I think that's good stuff. And Austin Butler as a James Dean type character, that is spot on casting.
Like, yeah, it is, isn't it?
that is spot on casting.
That's it.
Yeah, but Austin Butler, I'm glad that he's actually he seems to be building a good career.
Yeah.
Post Elvis, which was like which was his big break. I'm actually quite happy with him, and so, some of his choices seem to be quite astute.
They do, and he was also in that bombing series, wasn't he, Sharon? What was that called? Masters of the Air.
Masters of the Air, yeah. Masters of the Air.
That's when I first noticed him.
Yeah, Dune 2. Yeah, he's doing well. Right. Okay. And now we go back to Netflix and we're going to talk about Hitman. Hitman. Now, this is a Richard Linklater film that is on Netflix. It has been doing great guns because Netflix have started releasing their numbers and telling you how many people have watched it and all that kind of stuff. And there's all these big, massive numbers that don't mean that much to me, but say it's doing well. And it stars Glenn Powell, and it's a story that is written by Glenn Powell and Richard Linklater. So the star and the director wrote this film together. And it's based on an article that was published in an American magazine sometime, I think, in the early 90s. And it was about a guy called Gary Johnson, who was essentially outlining his life as a fake hitman. So the whole idea behind it is that hitmen don't exist. So hitmen who, like, let's say, for instance, let's say, Sharon, you decided, you know what? I've had enough of Shaun trying to drag me to the cinema. I need him out of my life. I'm going to find some guy and give him some money, and he's going to take Shaun out. And their whole point is like that kind of hitman the sort of person who will kill somebody for money doesn't exist. But what this guy used to do is that he used to pose as a hitman. So if the police heard about the fact that somebody was looking to get somebody else killed, they would send in this guy and he would pose as a hitman and he would sit down with them and he'll have a wire, he'll be talking to them and he'll essentially get to the point where he's like, where they'll go, yeah, I want you to kill that person for me. He's like, I need you to say the words. He's like, I want you to kill them for me. Here's the money. And then once that has been done, boom, the person gets captured, ends up in court, goes to the thing. And this film is a fictionalized, and they make no bones about the fact that it's fictionalized. They take the kernel of that idea. The character has the same name as the real life person, Gary Johnson. And they take the kernel of that idea. And when you start off, you meet Glenn Powell, and he's kind of like he's a university philosophy professor. And he's talking to people about identity and the id and blah, 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 what Freud thought and all that. But he's sort of mild-mannered. And he supplements his income by working with the police, doing all the electronics. So like setting up the wire, doing the recording because he's a bit of a sound buff. But one day the policeman who's supposed to do it, who's supposed to pose as the hitman, they can't put him in there. So they just say, Gary, you're up. And he goes in and he finds he has an affinity for it. And he starts getting really into it. Like so much so that when they say, this is who our mark is, he will research the person and he will decide what kind of hitman would they want. So would they want like a bike rider guy with a tattoo on the neck? Or would they want somebody who's like, seems like, more sophisticated and European? And so, which gives Glenn Powell a lot of fun to be had because he just sort of, there's like a montage of the different hitmen that he portrays where he just sort of like dresses up and does all sorts of accents and everything like that. And he's just playing all this role of the difference of hitmen. So he enjoys that. The crux of the movie comes when a lady called Madison, it comes onto the police radar, and she wants her husband to be killed because her husband, according to her, is abusive. So he sits down with her in the first meeting, and the first meeting is essentially a meet cute. And this film at the heart is a romantic comedy. It becomes a meet cute, and he's speaking to her, he's talking to her, he's like, and he starts thinking, oh, essentially you can see him begin to think, I'm not sure I want to put this person in jail. And so he pretty much sabotages the operation so that she doesn't say, yes, definitely do this. So she doesn't hand him any money. And so she goes free. And but when he finds out, he finds that everybody likes him as the character that he played. He plays this character called Ron. That's the hitman. And he has his colleagues talking about the fact like, they're like, oh, Ron, oh, I would have a drink with Ron. So I would cheat on my husband for Ron. And he's thinking, oh, wow, people like me better as this character. And Then what happens is that after he lets her off the hook, she gets back in touch with him and says, "I've left my husband, everything like that. Do you want to meet up for a drink?" And he kind of has this thing of like, well, should I go as Gary? Should I go as Ron? So he keeps up the Ron persona. He keeps up the Ron persona, and then later on, this is all. I'm only going to tell you what's in the trailer. Then later on, as he's in the Ron persona, as he's seeing her and everything like that, her husband turns up dead. So the husband that she was trying to pay him to kill turns up dead. And people are like, okay, what's going on here? And the film becomes kind of like it becomes a sort of action comedy romantic romp as to, oh my God, this is the situation. What are we gonna do? There's a little bit of like, hang on, is she the killer? Is he with a femme fatale here? What does he do? How does he get out of this whole thing? And it's a popcorn movie that sort of tries to ask questions about identity and can you change who you are? And is it better if people like this person more than they like you? Is it okay to try and become that person? And maybe you like that person more than you do. And it has all that kind of stuff in there. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It is very, very, as I said, popcorn. It sort of breezes past. But the problem is, and this has to do with my life at the moment, and has to do with the fact that Shaun has given me 2 weeks and I still haven't managed to see Bad Boys Ride or Die. This has to do with all that. I couldn't see this film in one sitting. I couldn't see the whole film in one sitting. I had to watch it piecemeal, and like in 3 different bits. And I think when you watch a film like that, it kind of breaks its spell on you a little bit, and you start going, hang on a second. What about that? Hang on a second. That doesn't make any sense. But wait a minute. So for me, it doesn't have quite that sort of like flowy thing that everybody's talking about. I would give it a very high 3 out of 5. It is a lot of fun. Glenn Powell's brilliant. Richard Linklater is always good, as far as I'm concerned. I think Richard Linklater, his films are always good. So I would give it a 3 out of 5. I would recommend it. I'll say go watch it and see what you do. If nothing else, for the Hitman montage, it's really good. Oh, and I did not mention Adria Arjona, who plays Madison in the film, and she is really good. They have good chemistry. They have a real kind of, there's bits of it that made me, the first time they meet up reminds me of George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez in Out of Sight. If anybody remembers that, which is one of the most, I think Out of Sight is one of the most, it's like a textbook example of your 2 stars in a movie having chemistry and just making you think, yeah, I could see that. I could see that. And I think they do something similar to that in this film. So Hitman, 3 stars, 3+, go watch it. And now we get into the film, the aforementioned film that I said that I have not been able to watch, even though Shaun has given me 2 weeks. I would try and watch it next week, Shaun, and then come back and maybe give like a report back on what we think. So Bad Boys Ride or Die, that both Shaun and Holly have seen. So I mean, okay, for a film I haven't seen, let me set the stage. Let me set the stage for a film I haven't seen. So this is the 4th Bad Boys movie. This is Will Smith and I've just blanked on his name. Martin Lawrence. Yeah, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence playing Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett. They've come back. In the last one, we saw them. They're older now. They're still working in Miami. And for what we can see in this film, there's a plot that has come up because their captain, who's played by John Pantoliano, who died in the last film, spoiler, sorry, he somehow has a video for them because his name has been muddied and there's someone's come up with this thing saying he was a dirty cop. And so this whole film is them going on the run, trying to clear his name. Now, that is the thing, but with Bad Boys movies, the plot is always kind of meh. I've watched all the previous 3 of them. I really like the first one. The second one is an overblown mess. That was the beginning of Michael Bay and his developing his whole Transformers thing. And the third one is I really like the third one. And with these films, but if you ask me what the plot was, I would struggle to remember what the plot of them is because it's really about Will Smith and Martin Lawrence bickering back and forth like an old married couple while shooting things up and action, blah, 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 kind of stuff. So with that being said, Shaun, what did you think of this film?
Okay, by all rights, I should hate these type of movies, shouldn't I? From the last one, but everything in it screams, Shawnee doesn't like it, Shawnee doesn't like it. But for some strange reason, because I watched the one before, which I really enjoyed, and this one, and it's just like, what, you know, I should hate it, shouldn't I, really, because it's got all the explosions, all the silly car chase, but I just found it so much good fun. I think because and Oh, and I was in hysterics as well. There's a bit in it. I don't know if it's Skittles or M&Ms. I can't remember, but it's like
Oh, it's Skittles.
there's-
It's Skittles.
there's
Skittles are a
is it? And there's like
long-running thing in the
it
Bad
goes in
Boys
it goes in
franchise.
slow-mo, and then there's a Barry White track on. You know, so you love, you love. And it's just I was in absolute hysterics, and there were moments in this film where I was absolutely. I thought, yeah, and so yeah, so for me, I you know, as I say, I don't understand why I enjoy it. I don't understand why I enjoy it because the things that happen in it, you know, with all the lead flying about, explosions and what have you.
They are preposterous. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
preposterous and they're overblown. That is, if you gave me a Bad Boys movie that wasn't preposterous and overblown,
yeah,
I would think that you had misunderstood the assignment.
yeah. So,
Essentially.
so this was great, and I think they work so well together, and I love the idea that
They are, yeah.
hey, I had a vision, I can't be killed. You know, that's what I mean. So it's just like, hey. So yeah, I for me, I had a totally great experience. That's what I say. I've been really, really lucky at the cinema because all the films recently I've seen, I've thoroughly enjoyed. So
All right, cool, good stuff. So, Holly, what did you think?
Very much the same. Hugely enjoyed it. It was just, yeah, it was laugh out loud funny. It was it was one of those, it's not a good film, but it's such an enjoyable film. You just the time flew by. We laughed, we got the right level of emotionally invested in what was going on. Not very emotionally invested, therefore, but and it was, yeah, it hung together well and was exactly what it was meant to be. It wasn't trying to be something profound or intellectual. It'd be very weird if it were. And they nailed it. It was, yeah, so much fun. We got out but afterwards, and we were both just smiling.
I'm really happy to hear that. I'm really happy to hear that because I mean, as I said, I do like this. I do like these guys. I do think Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are brilliant together. But it's the kind of thing where sometimes they can just there's the danger that they rely on the shtick and they don't actually give you a good. And I'm really, really happy to hear you guys say that you had a great time. I'm happy to hear that.
I think it really. I mean, were there unexpected twists and turns? No, there weren't.
no,
Did you see? Did you see the twists and turns coming? Most of them, yes. and that was still great. There was a point at the end where you'd seen something, you had just been waiting for it to happen for the last 20 minutes or so, and then it happened, and you went, yes.
And that's it. And some of the supporting characters, I love the supporting characters as well. They're just like really funny. The big. I think in the one before this one, you know, the dude that's the
the massive sort of Swedish dude, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, and I mean those supporting characters are great as well because they're you know, quite amusing. And the bad guys you've always got like super like toughies. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah. You know, like the big bad ones. Typical, I suppose you call them. So yeah, and you know, like the one that's some bad ones which are just sort of weedy and intellectual or not so much intellectual, but just like, you know, surrounded by the bad boys. So yeah, bad boys.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys. That essentially, or everything you're telling me is that this hits all the marks because they handed the directing reins over from Michael Bay to a directing duo from Belgium called Adil and Bilal. And I think Adil and Bilal understand what this is. I feel like they're probably around about the same age as me. They grew up with the original and they understand the thing about this. And
I haven't seen the first two, believe it or not. I haven't seen the first two. It was on the strength. It was on the strength of the one that I saw.
Yeah, Bad Boys for Life. I think the first one's good. The second one's just is loud, noisy, and a little bit incoherent. But it does have Gabriel Union, which always gives it plus points. So how many stars would you give this?
Well, I mean, as I say, it's been a great time at the thing. I really did have a great experience. So I'm going to give this one a 4. My God, I can't believe it.
Wow. I'm going to go with another high 3. I thought it was fantastic, but I don't think it quite warrants a 4. But it was, yeah. But people should watch it because it's fun.
Oh, okay. I just like to point out, Shaun, this is symptomatic of how good a week you've had at cinema.
I've had a terrific week. I think that's why I've seen some good stuff, and it's inspired me to go again. And I'll probably go and see The Exorcism or whatever it is at 7:30 or whatever, 8:30, whenever it's on. So
yeah, but Shaun, what I want to point out here is that there have been 2 films you've seen in the cinema this week that somebody else someone else in this team has watched, and both of them you rated higher than the other person. Bearing in mind that Shaun is usually the sort of like, no, that's stupid. I don't like that.
And I am the overly generous.
And Holly is the generous one.
I'm loving cinema, but there always has to be a low point, doesn't there? So, but
anyway. And we will get to that next week.
We will get to that.
Next week.
I'm going to try to find a way of watching it.
Sharon, you might have to suffer it just to.
I think because
you just suffer it if you
find the right time
or someone.
I'll be there.
I mean, Sharon and Holly they are shark movie correspondents, and I mean, I think it was actually when we were recording last week that I first mentioned the fact that this film existed to the both of you, because I didn't know about it. I was just looking at what's possibly coming up in the cinema, and I was like, oh, this is one for the both of you. So we will see about that. But talking about cinema, and Shaun talking about loving cinema, people have been complaining and have been worried because a lot of the films that are supposed to hit big haven't hit big. So The Fall Guy didn't do well. Furiosa didn't. Well, I won't say didn't do well. I said didn't do what they wanted it to do, expected it to do. Same thing with Furiosa. But this last week seems to be a shot in the arm with a combination of Bad Boys, Ride or Die, and Inside Out 2. Those two have essentially.
You've seen that.
Yeah. So I reviewed it last week. And and with those two, apparently they're doing really well, and they're making people sort of go, "Oh my God, cinema might not be dead. Cinema, there might still be something here for people to watch at the cinema." So that's good. All right, cool. Anyway, we shall now move on to Netflix for our final thing this week, and that is Dear Child. It is actually Netflix, isn't it, Holly?
It is Netflix.
All right, cool. So Dear Child on Netflix. Tell us what this is about.
Dear Child is a German series in 8 parts. It begins with a young-ish woman, well, probably woman in her 30s, who has been been hit by a car, and she and her daughter are collected by Hello Muffin.
That sounds like a very weird show.
It does.
This,
hit by a car, Hello Muffin.
These people have been hit by a car driven by Hello Muffin. I mean that's a bold name for a bad guy for a film.
So she's been hit by a car, and an ambulance is called, and she and her daughter are heading off in the ambulance, and the woman is clearly very badly injured, and in quite a bad way, and the daughter is asked what her name is and what her mummy's name is, and she says, "My mummy's name is Lena." And off they head to A&E, and they begin to think that Lena is a woman called Lena who went missing 13 years earlier.
Okay.
And who had disappeared on a night out, and her family get involved, as does the detective who was part of the original case. And obviously they've been looking for her for 13 years, and the series is all about unpicking, is this Lena? Is who is they, what happened, and trying to get to the bottom of what is clearly very complicated, and then trying to find Lena's son, who hadn't gone with them when Lena had been hit by the car. So there's a large police investigation as they try to get to the bottom of what has clearly it was Lena's kidnapping 13 years earlier.
Yeah.
And what has happened. It is I can't really say anymore without moving into the zone of very serious spoilers.
Yeah.
It was really well done. I watched it dubbed. Whether or not that was the right decision, I don't know, but I powered through all of the episodes in one day. It was that compelling. They weren't long episodes. They must have been 40 minutes, I guess. I say they weren't long. They weren't short episodes either, but it was really compelling viewing.
Yeah.
Wanting to get to the bottom of all of this, understand who all of the people are, their relationships, the damages, that everything, how everything had fallen out from Lena's disappearance all those years ago, who had been in her early 20s and young and beautiful and vivacious and studying and going to change the world, and then everything falls apart.
Okay. So Holly, just one more question for you.
Go.
Was it Lena?
Am I allowed to say?
No, you're not.
That
was a test. That was a test.
You find out whether or not it's Lena very, very early in the first episode. So,
oh wow.
So I think it is probably safe to say, as you figure it out within about the first 10 minutes, that
spoilers.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna have to go through that and bleep that out now.
But I think that's
more work.
It's an okay one though, because it's unlikely to be, because you can tell based upon all of the things from the second it starts that this isn't going to be.
Yeah, but I guess the question is then that if that's the case, then what's actually going on?
So who are the people? What actually happened? And what actually happened is the really big question.
It sounds a little bit like a German Unforgotten. If I think Sharon, obviously we know that show because you've watched that, so like it sounds a little bit like that. But how many stars would we give?
Absolutely solid 4.
All
really
right.
It would recommend. I think Sharon would enjoy it.
I'd have to check that one out. That sort of thing. It does sound like it's my bag.
It's really compelling viewing.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear what you think about it.
I like that sort of thing. Yeah, that's definitely sounds like my bag.
Yeah. It's the twists and turns of it all are really interesting. And keep you guessing right up to the very end. I'd say I didn't see all of the twists and turns at all.
All right, cool. So we have gotten to the end of well, I'm actually quite impressed that we managed to get 6 things in the time that we've got it in. Yeah. I'm actually quite impressed we've gone there this far. But the only question
talked longer about less.
yes, I know. I'm like, well, how did that happen? I don't know how that time has just happened. But who do we think has won this week? Netflix or cinema?
Cinema.
Yeah,
cinema. Romped.
I think cinema.
Romped it.
Yep. Cinema's romped it. Shaun, don't worry. Your love is still alive and kicking.
It still is alive and kicking. It might be, as I say, next week. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, next week
Holly's got to see that. I want Holly to see that.
I'm working on where it's not around him.
Is it not around?
So I'm working on whether or not I've got any free tickets for you, because I could get to see it at like 10 to 10 on Sunday morning.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
I would really have thought that this would have been out wider in London than other places.
Nah.
This is okay. There's something weird going on with distribution models, but that's really, really boring to talk about.
That's really weird, because like films like Arcadium or Late Night with the Devil don't come to a place like that, and they get something in the water, and yet up in London, which you think would be the spot,
take your pick.
It's like, what's going on? Obviously, they think that for people on the island like those things, maybe it's something to do with the water. Who knows?
Yeah, but either way, there's something weird going on. There's something weird going on. Yeah. So as we said, we have Holly living up to the Holly is going to a second screening in London.
I am.
Do we know what it is? Or
it's a film called, what is it? Hundreds of Beavers or Thousands of Beavers?
I believe it's Hundreds of Beavers.
Yes.
I wouldn't like to put that in a Google search engine.
I know. I don't think you should put it into a Google search. And I think that they have done this deliberately. They have done this deliberately. I got the initial email that shows you the poster, and the poster of this looks like a carry-on movie. It
Oh,
looks,
wow.
So it's not a nature film then.
It's kind of like, it's sort of like hand drawn in the sort of like style of an old carry-on movie.
Yeah.
And apart from that, I have tried reading what this is about, and I do not have a clue.
Okay.
I do not have a clue. So we'll just leave it to the likes of Holly and Mark Kermode to go into a film screening. When is it? Is it next week?
It is. It's Tuesday. It's
Tuesday.
going to be my nice break before I have a job interview on Wednesday.
Oh, good
Yes,
stuff.
all the preparations.
Give you the summary of it: a slapstick frostbitten battle between a drunken Applejack salesman and diabolical beavers, hundreds of them.
Wow.
And
Rat race.
It's sounding better by the
Sounds like
minute.
rat race or something.
It sounds like Mouse
Who
Hunt.
doesn't like a
Mouse hunt.
rampaging
That's what I meant.
beaver?
Yeah, rat race.
it's like,
Mouse hunt. Yeah.
it is going to be a delightful interlude for me, and it's back in the Soho screening room, so I now know where I'm going.
Look. Can you hear what she sounds like, people?
I
Can
know,
you hear what
I
she
know.
sounds like? It's like, yes, it's in the Soho screening room. Those in the know where it is.
Exactly. Well, I do now. I mean, I'll still get off walking there, and I'll still need Google Maps, and I'll probably still walk down the road reading my book, which is what I did last time.
Okay, this is making me. Next time I get one of these things, I'm going to be like, Shaun, Sharon, can you go to London? This is the day we got tickets.
I've got a week's leave coming up. It's like it's possible.
If they send us an email for that particular week, I will let you know. I will let you know. We can have like a sort of we can have a Netflix versus cinema invasion of a screen in Soho.
Yeah.
In Soho to go stare at the back of Mark Kermode's head. But
For me to get to London by 10 o'clock, I'd have to leave early, but that's doable.
I don't know what time this one is actually. They haven't given us a time, I don't think.
I think they did. I think a time came through today.
Did it? That's nice. I don't remember seeing it.
I think, well,
It doesn't seem to have come to me, so if you've got it, will you send it over to me so I know when I need to be where?
Good stuff I will do. Good stuff I will do.
There's some good stuff. Or hopefully there's good stuff coming. We've got Alien Romulus. We got, as I say, Maxine. There's a couple of other things that I'm quite looking forward to as well. I think some upcoming films. So
yeah.
Brilliant Twisters.
Quite looking forward to Quiet Place first.
Yeah, that's on
Thingy.
Sharon. Yeah, I think going Wednesday to see that.
Oh, right, that should be promising.
Oh, Holly, you mentioned Twisters.
Yes.
Twisters,
I've seen the trailers.
Like that.
Oh, I've seen the trailers for Twisters. It looks so good. It looks so dumb and so
funny,
good.
Isn't it? It's funny. For me, I
You
don't
didn't
like the
like it,
trailer.
did you?
No, I didn't like the trailer. I thought it
But
didn't.
I was
do
thinking it's got
anything to me.
vibes of the first Twister. I'm in that.
Sharon, I am with you. That's exactly.
Yeah.
I was thinking. It looks like the first. It looks like the first Twister, but bigger and a little bit dumber. And it's
And the first one's pretty dumb.
What year was the first one?
Oh, that must have been 97,
It's
98.
mid-90s, yeah.
It was a couple of years after Jurassic Park because they had upgraded the ability to do the physical effects.
So that'd be about 98, 99 then.
Yeah, and so but no, Shaun, I'm telling you, okay.
I'll see it. I will go and watch it, but the trailer didn't do it for
Shaun,
me.
it's you. We know you will go and see it. But essentially, I was thinking, like, when I saw the trailer for Twisters, I was like, okay, now they need to push this kind of thing because this is the kind of film that you look at and you go, I need to see this on the biggest screen possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Those are the kinds of films that explain why cinema is needed. And I think that they need to push those sort of things more. If they're talking about cinemas dying, you watch Twister, you don't want to see a cow flying around on your little poxy 50-inch TV.
Yeah, just like somebody picked up a little tiny toy cow. It's you want
to see it massive. You want to see that
small, far away, far away.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I mean, the trailer for this film is the one thing in ages that's made me think, ooh, maybe 3D might be a good idea. Essentially,
actually, that seemed to have taken a bit of a back seat, the old 3D, isn't it?
Because it was rubbish. It just made your head hurt.
Yeah.
But anyway, until next week, when we will see a combination of all those things, we'll definitely be talking Arcadian and Something in the Water next week, and probably a Quiet Place Day 1, a Quiet Day Place 1. Oh, good Lord, what is it with names today?
And if it just so happens that secret screening is Maxine.
Is Maxine?
Will
Yes.
will any of you guys go and see it on release, or do you think?
I would like to see it on release, but I need to catch up with Pearl first.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the first.
I have to let you know how I'm
Okay.
fixed, but yeah, that's looking promising.
But yeah, it's showing as a preview here as well. So, but I don't.
I'm walking along the creatures of the night. Great soundtrack. Just a trailer. The soundtrack's great.
Yeah. Sure. Okay, I'll tell you what. Right, I think I might need to keep Physical. We should do an 80s double bill. When you see Maxine, we'll talk about Maxine versus Physical. So I'll talk about Physical because Physical set in the 80s. One of the things I walked away with is I think I need to listen to more 80s music.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't look at it because they did this whole thing where they end every episode with a song and it's a bang and some of them I've never heard before, and I'm like, maybe I should listen to more 80s music. But anyway, until next week, where I shall continue watching Physical and listen to more 80s music. And Shaun might maybe see Maxine in cinemas. Sharon might maybe actually get, like, Muffin might get off Sharon's lap and let her go to the cinema to go see something. And Holly might go see a shark. Might go see a shark in the cinema. She'll definitely see a whole bunch of beavers, but maybe she'll see a shark.
I will report back.
Yes, it's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Thank you very much for joining us. Get in touch with us anywhere on social media, Netflix, BS Cinema. We would love to hear from you. Bye.
Bye-bye.